G'day guys, today I'm going to be making a couple of clocks. So after machining my components, I've got them roughly situated the way that they're going to finish up, because we want to finish up with something like this. We've got a big piece here, a bigger piece down there, smaller piece there, and an itty bitty piece there. And these little circles, that's a bit of dowel that I'm going to cut on and stand them up vertically, and that will be your 12 o'clock, your 3 o'clock, your 6 o'clock and your 9 o'clock. You can also see that I've machined each of those pieces at different thicknesses to create a little bit of visual interest from the front, so that it's not just a flat-faced clock. But for now, we want to cut in a groove in the back of these pieces to accept these sticks which are going to hold them all together. And it's times like this that I wish I could get a dado stack for this saw, but I can't, so I just have to nibble away at it bit by moving the fence back 3 or 4 millimeters each time. Takes forever, but it is what it is. Now I don't know about you guys, but I tend to collect a lot of sticks on the side of my saw there. They're just random strip off cuts that I just seem to have. They come in handy for times like this though. So the baking paper will stop any glue that gets under this sticking to my bench, because I want to keep this nice and flat as it glues up so that it's not all twisted, because it's very easy for these panels to be twisted because it's only a little stick holding them flat in one plane. Push them together. And that one span in between those two longer ones actually stops me from pushing it too far together, so that gap will be perfect, which should be 15 millimeters, and I've got 15 millimeters. So then on the other side, I simply put some glue into here, glue into here, flip her over, and my gap should be 10 millimeters between here. Oh, I've got it perfect. Alright, so it's the next day, so these have been drying overnight, and I'm pleasantly surprised at how well that's worked. It's still nice and flat, a little bit of cupping, not too bad, but it's strong. It's surprisingly strong. I thought this was going to be fairly flimsy, but it's actually fairly strong, so I'm pleasantly surprised, as I said. So what I want to do now is I want to machine up this board, which is Tasmanian oak, the same timbers that I've used for these sticks, and then I'm going to cut out a recess there to fit the medallion of timber that I've just cut to fit into there, which will cover up the clock mechanism, which is going to sit in behind there and go tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Alright, so with this medallion in position, you can see that there's a gap there, there's a gap there, and there's a gap here. So I can't just get my knife and mark all the way around it and then clean away the waste. So what I actually need to do is, it only touches on this section here, so I can put that in position, get my knife, mark around it, take that away, clear away this bit of waste, and then I'll come back and I'll put this back in there, butt it up against those walls there, turn it around, it'll be touching on the bottom here now, and I'll be able to mark around there, clean that away, put it back in there, and then it'll drop all the way down to that one, clean around there and there, clean that away, and I'll be able to get it all the way to the bottom. Bit of a pain in the butt, but it's what I have to deal with. And so now with everything sanded, I can glue this one into here, but first I'll flip him over and glue in all of these little pieces nice and easy. Doesn't really need much glue, it just needs enough to hold it in there. I'm not holding anything together, so the least amount of glue that I can get away with, the better, because it doesn't give me any squeeze out. So I've only got a little bit of glue in there, just enough to hold that piece in there. Nice, too easy. What do you reckon? Oh, it goes this way. What do you reckon? I like it. So then with my center point marked, I want to be able to drill a hole over here for a 19mm dowel at 12 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, and at 10, 11, 1 and 2, and etc. So I need to be able to put this onto my false bottom here on my drill press and use that as a center point to rotate that around a center point a set distance away from the drill bit. Now I want the distance from the center point out to my 12 o'clock point to be 125mm. So I know that the drill bit can hit that point right there. So if I measure over here somewhere 125mm apart, take this drill bit, drill a hole over here, I can use that drill bit as the center point to put it through this hole, into this hole over here, which will then allow it to spin. And then I can swap out the drill bit for a 19mm drill bit and drill away. Hopefully this works, because this is kind of dicey. 125mm away. "12, 1, 2, 3's in the air, 4, 5, 6 right on the edge, 7, 8, 9 is in the air, 10, 11. Now whenever I'm drilling right on the edge of the workpiece there, I have to make sure that I clamp it to the table, because there's no way in hell I'd be strong enough to be able to withstand the force of that drill bit right on the edge of that timber. It'll just spin it and I'll have no control over it. And then next up I can flip this over, get the clock mechanism which is going to go into that hole there, put it in there, and then I need to carve away enough material so that that fits in there. Now I could do a really neat job, or I can simply hack it away with an axe if I wanted to. I just need to remove the material, so I'm just going to roughly mark it and then I'll drill away the waste a little bit larger than that square there, and the distance between here and the back of the recess that I'm going to leave has to be about that long there. It's about 8mm. I've worked it all out so that that can poke all the way through, stick out, and I'll be able to put the hour hand and the minute hand on there. Boop! And that just pokes through ever so slightly. Beautiful. So now I can start working on these dowels and then we'll be finished. Just a little bit of glue. We're not trying to hold the Titanic together, we're just trying to hold these from falling out. So I think these three, that one, and that one, which is right on the corner, nothing actually holds it in there. But if I just get a little bit of glue and never move it, I think the glue stiction might be just enough to hold it in there. Only time will tell, eh? Just like that. Don't move it, should be okay. Don't breathe on it, don't look at it, just walk away and let the glue dry. So these are the components that you receive from the little clock kit that I purchased from Amazon for about $10 Australian. You get your clock mechanism, you get an hour hand, a minute hand, a different style of hour and minute hand, a seconds hand, some nuts and bolts and whatnot to put it all together, plus this little bracket here, which sits over the top of that spindle there, and you'll be able to mount it to the wall from that point there. I'm not actually going to use this component though. So I've already gone ahead and assembled this one using the fancy hour and minute hand. Looks kind of cool, I like it, but because I've done it this way on this one, I'm going to use the other hour and minute hand, the nice square fat juicy ones, and we'll do it and we'll see what looks better. So to begin with, we take our motor, we flip him over, and there's a little rubber grommet that goes on top of that. That goes inside the back here, into the hole, poke him through, and there she is. Then we get a little brass washer. It's not really brass, it's just gold plated, gold coloured, not gold plated. And then there's a nut, do that up. Finger tight is probably good enough, but the best kind of kill is overkill. So that's that. And then I want to get my minute hand, and it sits on top here, and I just want to get that pointing so it's vertical. Oh, it's perfect. Nice. Alright, so then I'll get my hour hand and press my hour hand so that it actually lines up for my 12 o'clock, because we want, at some point in the rotation, we want our hour hand and our minute hand to be in the same orientation. So if I just set it up as being 12 o'clock, it all just works. So that hour hand just fits on there with friction, and then there's this one that sits over the top of that, and this is where it gets really tricky. I've got this itty bitty tiny baby nut that I've got to get my big fat fingers on there and put it on there and tighten it up. Not the easiest task in the world. Tighten him up. And then I've got a choice. I've got a little black button that sits over the top of that if I don't want to put a second hand on there. But I like having the second hand on there because I can clearly see that the battery hasn't gone flat in this one, because it's going tick tock, tick tock. I don't have to wait a minute for the minute hand to click over. So I'll put in a seconds hand, and this just sits in there like so, and I just press it into place and it just stays there like magic. Put him in there, and we have a tick-tocker. So then the last thing to do is I want to be able to put this up on the wall somewhere, so I need to be able to mount it. Now that was that little bracket that I was talking about that I wasn't going to use. It was going to put a little bracket here that I could mount that point there, but because it's kind of center and this is not very symmetrical at all, if I'm off center a little bit, if I was to mount here for example, it's going to look pretty stupid. So I've got to figure out where the center is, so I need to just pinch it between two fingers. How's that look? About right? About right. So I'll get a pencil, I'll just make a mark behind my thumb here, and I know that that mark there I just made is hanging about vertical. Once I put it up against the wall, the resistance or the friction between it and the wall will stop it from swinging a little bit. I'll be able to position it like a painting, but we want to get pretty close. So from there I've got this little keyhole clip that I'm going to screw into the back. Wham bam, and we've got a mount, man. Well, thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.